Hey, Batang 90s! Remember when downloading meant manually copying lyrics into your notebook while your cassette tape played on loop? And when TikTok was just the sound your wall clock made at 10 p.m. while you were still outside playing Tumbang Preso? Welcome to Now Leo Know, where your brain gets smarter without breaking a sweat. Hit subscribe and let the fun facts attack! Now that you're officially in the trivia zone, let's fire up our nostalgia engines. Because today, we're taking a time machine back to the last golden era of Pinoy culture, the glorious, chaotic, lovable 1990s. From Jollibee toys that actually sparked joy to OPM hits that raised an entire generation of emos in denim, this was peak Pinoy. So buckle up. Let's start with TV, because honestly, if you didn't hear cinema from Ang TV, did you even grow up in the 90s? You had Batibot, the Filipino version of Sesame Street gimmick for your teen drama, and Eat Bulaga, still ruling the noontime slot like a Tito who never retires. Trivia. TGIS, thank God it's Sabado, was so iconic, it changed how teens viewed Saturdays. It was literally the Filipino version of Friday Night Lights without the sports. And let's not forget Mara Clara, the show that made every Filipino household collectively scream at the TV. Claudine and Gladys became the blueprint for bida contra bida dynamics, and every family member, from your Lola to your Kuyas, had an opinion on who deserved justice. These teleseryes weren't just entertainment, they shaped our dinner conversations and even taught us some questionable Tagalog vocabulary we probably shouldn't have learned that young. Meanwhile, cartoon time was sacred. You'd race home from school just to catch Ghost Fighter, Dragon Ball Z, or Slam Dunk, with Tagalog dubbing so intense. Now let's talk music. This was when Eraserheads weren't just a band, they were a lifestyle. Rivermaya, Yano, Parokya ni Edgar, the holy trinity of teenage angst and love letters on scented paper. Fun fact, Ellie Buendia once said they wrote Ang Huling El Bimbo in under an hour. Just imagine creating a national emotional crisis in 60 minutes. And no Spotify yet. You had to earn your playlist. Cassette tapes, pushing rewind, hoping your Walkman batteries didn't die in the middle of a heartbreak. And if you were lucky, you'd catch your favorite song on the radio and violently hit record just in time, only to have the DJ ruin the ending with a shout-out. But hey, that was the charm. Radio stations like RX 93.1, LSFM, and NU 107 weren't just background noise. They were the gatekeepers of your mood. Whether you were crying over a crush or pretending you were in a music video while staring out the jeepney window, OPM was the soundtrack of your youth. Live gigs were magic. Bands played in school fairs, parking lots, or even SM food courts if you were lucky. There was no VIP section. Let's talk Jollibee. The toys in the 90s were chef's kiss. You had collectibles that could rival today's Funko Pops, and they came with Chickenjoy. Win-win. Street food was thriving. I saw kwek kwek, dirty ice cream, all served with questionable hygiene and unquestionable joy. Remember Chimito, that probiotic shot you drank like it was medicine but secretly loved more than soda? Or Family Computer, where Mario jumped like he had arthritis but we still played for hours? And don't even get us started on Pogs and Techs, the unofficial currency of every school recess. You weren't cool unless you had a rubber slipper turned slammer that could flip 5 Pogs at once. Losing your favorite slammer? That was a life event. And if you had that glow-in-the-dark text card of your favorite action star, Richard Gomez perhaps? You were basically the Elon Musk of recess trading. Then there were the snacks. Haw Haw milk candy, White Rabbit, with the edible wrapper you always second-guessed, and flat tops that melted in your pocket before you even got to recess. And of course, Tommy and Chippy, the chips that left your fingers red enough to be used as emergency lipstick. These weren't just snacks, they were comfort food for the soul. Wrapped in the 90s, Pinoy was present. Walang social media, just you, your barkada, and the Sari Sari store. You wanted to talk to your crush? Landline. And if her mom answered, well, good luck, warrior. We valued La Mierda and Harana, not followers and filters. Trivia. Beepers were the first DMs in the Philippines. You'd send coded messages like 143 for I love you. Now it's just seen. And oh, the La Mierda. Hanging out meant actually going out. Laro sa calle, tambay sa kanto, or mauling without even buying anything. Just being there was enough. You didn't need aesthetic coffee shops with Wi-Fi and mood lighting. All you needed was a plastic chair, a bottle of Coke in a plastic bag with straw, and your best friends laughing about nonsense for hours. That was the feed we scrolled through, real life. Even courtship had more effort. Harana wasn't just a joke, it was a legitimate love language. You brought your guitar, your courage, and your off-key voice to your crush's gate like a hopeless romantic. And somehow, it worked, because in the 90s, presence was everything. There were no unread messages, only heart-skipped, butterfly. The 90s was also the boom of OFWs, your tita from Dubai sending balikbayan boxes that smelled like duty-free perfume and hope. And inside, Spam, Snickers, imported shampoo, and VHS tapes labeled "Do Not Tape Over." These boxes didn't just send goods, they sent love. Families waited for years to reunite, but when they did, it was hugs, not hashtags. And those balikbayan boxes? They were more than packages. They were time capsules of care. Kids waited months just to taste that one imported chocolate bar or finally wear that Gap shirt everyone in class would notice. You didn't just receive products, you received stories. A shampoo bottle came with a story of sacrifice. A pack of socks came with homesickness folded inside. And let's not forget the letters. Handwritten, long, and filled with kwento and kilig. No emojis, just pure emotion on paper. Some even had cassette tapes, audio letters where your mom or dad would say, "Anak, mag-aral kang mabuti." So what changed? Well, the internet, then smartphones, then the world sped up. We became globalized, digitized, and maybe a little desensitized. Culture shifted from sama-sama to solo-solo. And the things that made 90s culture golden, shared experiences, slow days, national pride in local music and shows, they got replaced by algorithms and imported trends. Suddenly, the rhythm of our lives wasn't set by the neighborhood or the noontime show. It was driven by notifications. We used to gather around a single TV set to watch the same teleserie or laugh at the same gag show. Now, each screen is a different world. We scroll past each other, often unaware that we're losing the warmth of kapwa, that deep sense of shared identity and compassion that once bound communities together. And while innovation brought convenience, it also brought disconnection. Local stories lost airtime to foreign content. Original Pinoy music took a backseat to global hits. Even childhood. But here's the thing. The 90s will always be our benchmark of joy. Not because it was perfect, but because it was pure. We were connected, not just online, but in real life. So if you're missing that feeling, don't just be nostalgic, be intentional. Support OPM. Call your barkada. Buy from the Sari Sari store. Talk to people in person. Because at its core, the 90s remind us what it truly means to be Filipino at heart, where community came first, stories were shared face-to-face, and culture was something we lived, not just posted. It wasn't about trends, it was about togetherness. So let's not just remember the golden era, let's bring back the gold in our everyday lives. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, hit like, share it with your fellow Batang 90s, and don't forget to subscribe for more Filipino trivia that hits you right in the childhood. Leave a comment